want to do, and I want to make sure you understand the theme, but I'm going to take you back 60 years to the month when I came down to Miami to visit Shirley between our junior and senior year at DePaul. And Graham and I are out at the Thomas's backyard. We're having a drink, and he's talking. He didn't realize the kind of advice he was giving, but in essence he said, "I'm an attorney, but I teach law at the University of Miami, and that makes me an expert." He said, "Don't be satisfied with a college degree. Everybody's having that these days. Go on and get yourself a master's degree or a doctorate or do something, and then maybe you can get into teaching at the college level, because there you'll learn public speaking, and you'll be considered an expert in your field." You have no idea what a crystal ball this turned out to be. So I got back to Peoria, Illinois, and I went to Bradley University, and I signed up for their MBA program based on your advice, Rick. And after graduation from DePaul, I was back in Peoria, and one of my high school football buddies came down and said, "You know, I'm going back to college. The Korean War was going on." And he says, "As long as I'm in school, they can't draft me." And a little light turned on, and I said, "Well," I went down the draft board, and I said, "Listen, I'm supposed to be going to graduate school, but I don't want to pay that tuition unless you can assure me that I can go on." And this big old lady called Miss Barovich went to the phone, called the registrar, came back and said, "Son, as long as you're in school, we can't touch you. Thank you." So
he saved your life.
I went on, and in the middle of my second semester of MBA, Shirley and I got married. And then at the end of the MBA program, I got to thinking this was pretty nice. And I signed up for an MA in economics. As long as I was in school, they couldn't touch me. Well, it came down nearing the end of that program, and I went down to the draft board and I said, "Okay, I'm through with my higher education." But my wife was pregnant, and on July 7th, Frances Miller's birthday, out popped Frances.
Yay! Saved him again.
Yeah, and so then they said, "Well, as soon as you have a child, you come down and tell us." So I went down and told them, and I went from a 1A draft card in World War II to 2A for education to 3A for being married with a child. And then Life magazine came out with this huge article about the loophole in the draft law. I went right on through it and didn't even know it. But the interesting thing, and you know, Graham was so far-sighted, it's just amazing. Shortly after getting this MA, I get a call from Bradley University. The South Central Association was on their back. They didn't have enough qualified instructors. Would I come out and teach? At first it was advertising, then it was sales management or whatever. And I learned more, but the public speaking part of it is so important. And Graham said, "You talk to a class for 30 minutes to an hour, and you're going to learn to stand on your feet and talk." Well, I learned to sit on a chair and talk. At any rate, we moved along, and in 1957, Austin Conrad, and Graham's mother was a Conrad back in DeLand and Glenwood, invited me to join his firm in insurance. And so the whole family moved to DeLand, and we're going along, and after about 3 or 4 years of doing this, I'm out at Stetson University now in DeLand, and I said something to the dean of the business school, "I'd like to be able to teach insurance sometime." "Oh, Don, you just can't come to the college level and teach. You got to have a master's degree." "Thank you, Graham." I said, "Yeah, I've got 2 of them, and I've already been teaching at Bradley." 1 year later, I was teaching insurance at Stetson University. Now, we had insurance agencies in DeLand that had started in 1907, and who's the expert teaching insurance at Stetson but the new kid in the block? And that went along until about 1965. I started my own agency and left the Conrad agency, which was not a very popular thing with your mother and the Conrads. And we had a clever name for it. We called it the Don Page Agency. That was 1965, and 2 or 3 years later, I was still teaching at Stetson, and the dean called and he said, "Don, I've got the mumps, and I'm supposed to teach corporation finance this summer. Can you come out here and do that?" So I said, "Yeah." So now I'm teaching corporation finance. I got my broker's license in real estate. Pretty soon they wanted me to teach real estate out there. And this thing just kept expanding. It was ridiculous. Shirley got her master's degree at Stetson. It didn't cost us anything because I was an adjunct professor and they were very kind. David went to Stetson and he didn't cost anything because of this connection. And we had a School of Business Foundation at Stetson, and faculty elected me president, I think, on 3 different occasions. We were supervising about $1 million in money that was helping the faculty members go on. You know, it worked pretty well. Well, as fate would have it, Mr. Conrad died. And who was there to pick up the pieces but the Page Agency? So we took Conrad Insurance and closed it down, but we owed a note to Aunt Red. And every December, I would sign my name to a $10,000 check, and we'd send it to Aunt Red. And I sort of felt it was a payback to Austin for having brought me into the insurance business. So all the way through here, I'm saying thank you, because your advice in August of 1949 has carried through our family for 60 years. It's amazing. And nothing that happened you didn't predict back in 1949, and I thank you for that.